Gail?
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, council, if I can get a mover and a seconder for our first motion to open. Peter and Drago. Moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by Drago Stefanik. Be it resolved that we do call this regular meeting of council to order on Wednesday, December 8th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, and Deputy Mayor, item number 2. Can John hear me? We'll just stand by for a moment to ensure that everyone can hear. John, are you hearing me at all? Everyone else can hear me though? Okay. I think we can hear John, he just can't hear us.
Are we started yet?
Yes, we have. We're trying to see if you can hear us. You can't hear. Okay.
I can't hear you.
We can hear you.
So I'll tell you the land acknowledgement. The Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging the land on which we gather here today is the Treaty 9, 1905 to 1906 territory, the traditional lands of the Indigenous peoples. As we work towards reconciliation, may we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship with all of its diverse peoples.
Thank you, John. Are we still working at getting his microwave so that he can hear us? Okay, we'll just go through with the housekeeping items while we figure that out. Okay, there doesn't seem to be any changes to the agenda. If I can get a mover and a seconder for the approval of the agenda, please. Belinda and Peter. Moved by Belinda Kistemaker, second by Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that council does hereby approve the agenda as presented. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, did we get that resolved? Is John able to hear us?
Yes, sorry about that. I don't know what was going on. It just
No, that's fine. Technology, right, with our virtual meetings. Glad that you are here and both hear us and we can hear you. Great. Okay, we're on item number 5, disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof, declaration of conflict of interest. Council, you do know that you can do that now or at any time throughout the meeting that such a situation arises. I don't have any conflicts right now, so we'll continue on. Item number 6 is the adoption of the minutes. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Belinda? And John? Moved by Belinda Kistemaker, second by John Paroff. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, December 1st, 2021, as distributed. Any comments on the minutes? There being none, those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, item number 7, business arising from the minutes, there being none. Item number 8, we do have a deputation tonight about our municipal airport, and Isaac Wilkinson is here with us. You're welcome to join us, Isaac. Thank you so much. Nice to be in Hornepayne virtually tonight. And we look forward to getting some movement on our airport. So I'll hand it over to yourself. And I don't know if you've discussed with Gail if you need to share screens or anything like that, we can make that happen.
Thanks. Happy to be here. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great. I'm just going to ask Councillor Paroff, would you be able to mute your mic for the presentation, please? Thank you.
So I don't have any intention to share my screen. I need to do that. I do have the documents open. What I wanted to quickly do was run through the design as we have outlined it to date with Gail and Dwayne, and then I'll open it up to any questions if anyone wants to get into any of the details. I know as part of the agenda package, there was a technical memo shared as well as the site plan drawing. So in a high level overview, at this point, we're through the 60% detailed design for the Airfield Rehabilitation Project. At this time, it includes the rehabilitation of the runway, the taxiway, and the apron, including the concrete fueling pad, as well as the concrete sidewalk up to the terminal building. The rehabilitation method that we are choosing at this point is to pulverize the existing asphalt, add some new granular base, and pave with new asphalt. That gives us the advantage of reusing the existing asphalt on site to make the runway and the pavement structure a little bit stronger. We are also proposing to replace the existing sub-drains along the runway, the taxiway, and the apron. This will improve the pavement structure as it will allow water to drain, so that again will improve the strength characteristics of the pavement, specifically in the spring and fall when things are a little bit more wet. Also included in the design is full electrical replacement of all the edge lights and all the airfield lights on the airfield. So we'll be upgrading those to LED, latest technology. And I believe in the tech memo, there's a few sample photos just to show what those fixtures look like. So obviously this is the new type of fixture where spare parts are readily available, and being LED, they come with all the benefits of normal LED lights, including less power consumption. We're also looking at the wind cone replacements and some work inside the FEC. FEC stands for Field Electrical Center. It's basically the panel that controls the electrical current out to the airfield lights. They don't run off of a typical electrical circuit. There's some specialized equipment in there that's really only seen at airports, and we intend to replace all of that stuff as it is getting near the end of its life. At the end of this project, with what we've proposed to date, you're going to have a brand new life cycle of equipment that you should, regular maintenance, but it should last you another 25 years without any concerns or headaches. And I think that's exactly what you want to do here to maintain your airport through the next 25 years. It's been, I believe the last rehabilitation was done in 1998. So you're coming up on about 23, 24 years of life, which is excellent. It really shows that the airport has been well maintained over the last 24 years to be able to sustain that life cycle. And there's no reason that with this rehabilitation project, you wouldn't be able to do it again. So for our next steps here, myself, Gail, and Dwayne will be working through the design, and we'll be submitting a draft, another draft 100% design basically. And then from there, we would go out to tender. Gail, I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted me to touch on specifically tonight. Otherwise, I'll just open it up to questions from the group.
No, I don't think so, Isaac. I think that was a great summary. Thanks.
Thank you, Isaac. Do we have any questions from council for Isaac? Okay, so I want to thank you, Isaac, for coming back to us with this. You know that we delayed a bit to try and see if there was some more interest out there to garner further development at our airport. And as we saw, there was nothing at this time. But I do like that. So we have agreed to the extra ditching that would go out further, though. Am I correct, just by memory?
Not at this time, Mayor. We put together some preliminary cost estimates, and based on the preliminary cost of the rehabilitation right now, which is getting all your lighting system and pavements back up, the budget was not there to do the ditching. One of the things that Gail and Dwayne and I talked about was putting that ditching as an optional item. So if we do get this tender pricing back, and it's extremely, really good, and there is some budget remaining, we could look at adding in the ditching at that time. However, best bang for your buck is definitely to get those lights replaced and repair those pavements. The ditching, that's a nice to have, but it's certainly not required at this point. It's definitely a nice to have. And for the long-term sort of usage of your airport, the money will be best spent in your electrical upgrades and your pavement rehabilitations.
Okay, thank you for that clarity, Isaac. Is there any further questions from council? And we saw in Dwayne's the public manager's report that we're going to come to that they're going with the recommendation to continue on. Okay, I think we're all done tonight, Isaac. So that was pretty easy. Thank you so much for coming and taking the time.
Thanks for having me. Anytime. Take care, everybody.
Great, thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, so moving on, we are at item number 9, managers' reports. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Drago and Peter. Moved by Drago Stefanik, second by Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation, the Township of Hornepayne, does hereby acknowledge receipt of the manager's reports provided at the regular meeting of Council held on Wednesday, December 8th, 2021. And our first manager's report is the CAO Clerk report. Gail, would you like to speak to your report before I open up for questions or comments?
Yes, thank you. I have a couple of things, or a few things that have come up since the report was written. First thing is I got a phone call yesterday that we were successful in getting our money that we applied to FedNor through the Canada Community Revitalization Fund. We had applied for $75,000 with our portion being $25,000 to continue upgrades at the Pavilion Park. So that will get us our outdoor washrooms and finish the landscaping that we weren't going to be able to do. So hopefully we'll have enough money now, combining that with the ISIP grant, that we can have a beautifully finished park. So that's exciting. So the agreement for that will be on the January meeting. And Stacy and I met yesterday with Food Cycler, and they had a really good participation from Hornepayne with that program. They do want to come to council with a proposal, which they don't quite have together yet, but they're 100% willing to work more with Hornepayne and hoping to find a project that will fit our community. So it sounds really promising. Don't know exactly what it will look like yet, but there are 2 programs at least that are open for funding, and it looks like it might be something that we can do without too much cost to increase to taxes, or maybe none. I'm not sure how that will work out, but the payoff with sustainability and savings on the landfill may counteract that. So anyways, it'll be interesting to hear from them. I don't think they'll be here till the February meeting. They've got some more research to do, and I don't think they're gonna. We have to meet with them again before they'll get everything together. So that's coming up. And again, kudos to Albina Leavitt for taking this project and running with it. She was a great champion for the program. And they went through the survey results with us that they got back from the participants, and they will be providing those to us, but they're still waiting for a few more responses. But I thought it was really good. They told us that several people commented about her and how good of a job she did and how much they enjoyed working with her. So that really speaks volumes, because I think lots of times people don't bother to, to give compliments like that. So good for her. The closure on the land for the hotel development is being extended till December 17th. I think they're still waiting for a couple of signatures from their investors. So that's nothing's wrong or anything. That's still going forward. The HR manual that we are going to be discussing later on the agenda. I just wanted to let you know that the new manuals are going to be added to your council binders. So they're printed and ready to go. You can have them anytime, but they will be going into your binders if you don't pick the package up before that. And I think that was all I had to add. Actually, that was quite a bit, I guess, but I think I'm done.
Thank you, Gail. Is there any comments or questions for Gail? And I do want to extend the shout out to Albina for running the program. I think it's a success, and I know I enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward. Just one question on that, Gail. Can people still get on to the next program? Are we still collecting names, or did that fill up?
We're still collecting names, and I asked him about that yesterday, and he said he would suggest that we hold off on doing it until they go through all the comments they've received. They've got some good feedback for improvements. So I know some of the things they mentioned were some people had said the bins were too small. They're looking at getting a bigger, providing a bigger bin. I forget, there were a couple other things that he said that they're working on improving so that the next time we do it, it might be even, even better. So he just said to hold off for a bit, but yeah, it's still available and still in the plans.
Okay, great. Okay, council, I open up for questions or comments to our CAO. Go ahead, Belinda. Councillor Kistemaker.
I was just wondering if you could tell us more about the rural development network presentation that you had at the mayor's meeting.
Well, basically Deanne just went through the work that they're trying to accomplish with us if we could get funding for that work, and just talked about how they've already done the step-by-step affordable housing guide and that they want to do the same thing to make a step-by-step revitalization guide for small rural communities. And what we're looking for is some more participation from other municipalities. Doesn't have to be in our region, but it would be nice if we could get a regional thing going so that we can have more contribution to the project. So she had presented 3 or 4 levels of participation. I can't remember what the numbers were off the top of my head, but if you just say we've committed 75,000 through the RED program. So if you do commit 75,000, you'll have full participation in the program, and if you do 50, you have full participation, but a little less of something else. Like I can't remember what the details were, Belinda, but I think the lowest participation rate that she spoke about was a $10,000 contribution, and they wouldn't be actively involved, but they're still in support of the project and would be consulted on things. So I think basically she just was introducing the project to the other communities in the region. I know they had also presented to the Superior East Economic Development Group, or not the Superior East one, the Regional Economic Development Group. And I'm not sure what happened with that. Apparently there was some interest, but I don't think it really went anywhere. And the feedback that we got at the meeting seemed really positive. So I think now the next step is for her to contact the municipalities and see if their individual councils want to hear more about the project, and then we'll go from there. So I don't know if I missed anything, Mayor Fort.
No, that was just to let people know that the 75,000 is over 2 years with a full-time staff committed to that. And then at the 50,000 level, it would be a part-time staff over that 2-year project timeframe. But I did extend my availability to Deanne. If she wants, I can join her or even do a video clip for the council. I have to say I was pleasantly surprised at all the other councils thinking we could really work together. And when we furthered the discussion throughout our meeting on other things, some of the other mayors had brought up that this could be part of the project, some of those other discussion topics. So it would be a good thing for our community because it would be a manual used throughout all of Canada, not just Ontario.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other further questions for Gail? Okay, I'm not seeing any, Gail. The only question I have, is there digital copies available of the human resource policy or the new handbook?
Yeah, I can forward you one, sure.
Okay, I prefer it on a digital and I'll just put it with my files.
Sure.
Thank you for that. And I don't have any notes on your plan, so I don't have any other questions. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to our client service manager treasurer's report. Melissa, would you like to speak to your report before I open it up for questions or comments?
No, I don't have anything further to add at this time, but I'll take questions. Thanks.
Okay, great. Council, do we have any questions for Melissa? Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, through the mayor, I have just a comment. I concur with all the recommendations she made regarding water and sewer and taxes. I think it's prudent that what she's doing it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Stefanik. I don't have any questions at this time. Is there any further questions? No. Okay, we're moving on to the Public Works. Thank you, Melissa, for your report. And now we're moving on to the Public Works Manager's report. Dwayne, would you like to speak to your report before I open it up for questions or comments?
Just like to add something. We've received the locates as of Friday for those 2 digs. We attempted one today, but we hit a pile of blast rock up against where they blasted, and they buried the water line inside the rock. So we're having a bit of trouble. I'm waiting for another piece of equipment tomorrow. We could have continued today and maybe got it fixed, but we might have ruptured the main line by playing around. So decided to close it up today and move back at it tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
Okay, great. Thank you for that update. Yeah, I did see that it was still under repair there when I drove by earlier. Okay. It's always a challenge, eh, Dwayne, when we open up the ground to see what's there.
We never know what we're getting into, that's for sure.
The surprise. Okay, do we have any further questions for Dwayne's report or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
A comment regarding Dwayne's recommendation regarding the airport project. I concur 100% with all the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stefanik. Any other further questions or comments for Dwayne? Okay, I'm not seeing any, Dwayne. Everyone's getting off easy tonight, and I don't have any comments. I do have comments on the other reports coming up, but thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, and we're moving on to the Economic Development Officer's report. Stacy, would you like to speak to your report before I open it up for questions or comments?
No, I don't take any questions that you have.
Oh, okay, great. Any questions or comment from council? Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, through the mayor, when will the completion start of the project at the Pavilion Park in the spring? I asked this question before, but do you have any firm dates to finalize all the final equipment? Not the washrooms, of course, which you just received a grant, but talking about the other stuff we discussed a few months previous. Thank you.
So we changed did a change request for the grant. So our final completion date that we have to have everything done and the report done will be September 30th, 2022.
Okay, thank you for
Thank
that.
you.
Any other further questions on the Economic Development Officer's report? I just want to note down at the bottom in your report, Stacey, you highlighted the wages. And I was wondering if we've been able to find out if we can extend those wages and what's happening.
So we've set up a meeting with Gordon Olds. So he's the he works with Destination Northern Ontario, but he has successfully applied for ISAP for an extension in this previous position. So we set up a meeting with him, and then we're going to look into whether we can extend or apply for an extension of the EDO position.
Okay, and how many years did they get the extension for? Do we know, or was it just 1 year or 2 years?
No, so they actually got a 3-year extension. Not for the, excuse me, not for the full set of wages, but it was actually, I don't remember the numbers exactly. I think it's 75, 50, 25. Is it, Gail?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, that's better than no subsidy, right? Okay, I look forward to hearing how that meeting goes, and in January when we meet, hopefully we get some good news. That was the only comment or question I had about your report. Thank you, Stacy, and congratulations on the successful application for the further development of the Pavilion Park. I know I'm going to admit I was worried about the workload, so here it goes.
Yeah, here it goes. Thank you.
Okay, so we've if we can put the motion that's on the floor of the acknowledgement, the receipt of the manager's reports to a vote, those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, we're moving on to item 10. 10.1 is the Hornepayne Pharmacy request for support and assistance. Dwayne, did you want to speak to your report before I open up for questions or comments or discussion?
No, I'm ready to take questions.
Okay, I open up the floor to council for questions or comments for Dwayne. Okay, I'm not seeing any. I did have the opportunity. I wanted to thank both Gail and Dwayne for setting up the opportunity for me to actually go and visit the site. So I got to see it yesterday morning at 8 a.m. And I totally concur with what Dwayne has suggested to happen in his report and stay by his decision. I thank the staff for looking into this further, that we've done some extra groundwork on it. And the only thing that I would say after visiting is we are going to at some point need signage. I don't know if we, for ensuring that there's no parking. It's very narrow in that area. And I know, Belinda, you had looked at it previous to last meeting, and it could be a huge safety concern for not only the people utilizing the pharmacy, but the people living on the street or using the street. So we do have a decision tonight to either decide that, do we have consensus that we go with the project or the Public Works Manager's recommendation? Go ahead.
Wait.
Okay. I have to turn my light on here for a second. So it would be the neither of aforementioned requests would be the proper checkbox. Yes, okay. Okay, if I can get a mover and a seconder for the motion, please. Grego. And a seconder, please. Peter. John, did you have comment? Did I miss a comment from you?
Sort of.
Go ahead.
I'll have to read it again, but I was kind of thinking that maybe we can get a rundown on what the proposal is. Or are we just going to vote for the two choices that we have in front of us here?
Well, I think the choices were the two requests that were made. One was the street light and one was to cover the ditch area. So first of all, we discussed at our previous meeting that the street light is not our responsibility to add that. I can't remember exactly the discussion. That could be something the business owner could do on their own and put up. So that option is available for them. And the second was we had a lengthy discussion about the ditches and what's available. And I don't know, Dwayne, if you want to speak to the two options that are there and the one that you highly recommend first.
They're options. It's up to the homeowner, whatever he wants to do, but it's the two best spots that we could physically see that would be best access.
And that's on Willow Street, right? Correct?
Willow Street and Front Street's the other entrance that we think would work. But like I say, it's up to the homeowner. It's his property.
Yes, the two different options would be to have a parking lot and a retaining wall on Front Street that would be level to his entrance, and or have a full parking lot at the back of his house that you would go right in off the street and park in there like a full-fledged parking lot. Am I correct in the way I said that, Dwayne?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I didn't understand is off of Front Street to make it level with the entrance to the pharmacy right now. That's a big drop. Like I can't picture that in my mind of how you wanted it done. Or I'm missing something.
Nope. It's probably a 5 foot, definitely 5 foot of moving aggregate for sure. But that's up to the homeowner. You cannot park alongside the road. That's basically what we're coming to.
Okay, I understand what you're trying to say. Okay.
Yeah, and there is that fire hydrant that is there that really has to be accessible completely from the road at all times.
Yes.
And I believe when we looked at it, was it 18 feet you had said, Dwayne, from the house to the property edge where the like the trucks would stick out if it was made to park just in like nose in, but then we'd have people backing out onto a residential street.
There's not enough room to fit a truck in there. You stick out by 4 to 6 feet.
Mm-hmm. Does that answer your questions, John?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to read the motion. Moved by Drago Stefanik, second by Peter Kistemaker. Whereas council has received correspondence from Mad Hat Halawa dated October 12th, 2021 attached, requesting the following. 1, covering the ditch on Willow Ave adjacent to the property located at 330 Front Street in order to improve accessibility to the Hornepayne Pharmacy. And 2, installation of an additional street light to improve the visibility and safety of the Hornepayne Pharmacy. And whereas council has received and discussed staff reports from the public manager and the chief building official attached for consideration with regard to the above request at the regular meeting of council on November 10th, 2021. And whereas council indicated that they would not be in support of installing lighting to serve the property where the Hornepayne Pharmacy is situated, but wanting more information on the parking and accessibility issues, deferred the prepared resolution and directed staff to complete further research. And whereas a second staff report has now been provided by the Public Works Manager citing sections of the zoning bylaw and the Planning Act, now therefore be it resolved that the council, the corporation, the township of Hornepayne does hereby authorize the Public Works Manager to fulfill neither of the aforementioned requests. Be it further resolved that a letter will be sent to Mr. Halawa advising of council's decision. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, I'll put that to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to 10.2. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Peter and John. Moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by John Peroff. Whereas the Canadian Union of Public Employees, CUPE, is calling for an independent and transparent third-party review of the investment performance of the Ontario Municipal Employees Retirement System, OMERS, due to ongoing deficits in the program. And whereas CUPE has provided the township with documentation demonstrating OMER's substantial investment underperformance over the past 10 years, and whereas OMERS no longer shares such information in their annual reporting, and whereas CUPE has provided an analysis from PBI actuarial consultants confirming OMER's underperformance, and whereas the underperformance poses a significant risk to plan members and sponsors, and where it is best interest of the council to request an independent third-party review of OMER's investment performance over the past 10 years. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation, the Township of Hornepayne, does hereby support the Canadian Union of Public Employees, CUPE, request for a third-party review of the Ontario Municipal Employees Retirement System, OMERS, investment performance practices, which would, at a minimum, A, compare OMER's performance to other defined benefit pension plans and funds, as well as internal and external benchmarks. B, examine OMER's decision-making around the timing of their investment decision. C, assess risk management policies, protocols, and determine if they were followed and sufficient. D, assess whether the disclosures provided were sufficient for a timely and appropriate response from the OMERS administrative and sponsorship boards. E, examine OMERS compensation, fees, and costs compared to other defined benefit pension plans and funds. F, make recommendations for logical changes at OMERS to ensure improvement. Be it further resolved that council also calls upon OMERS Administrative Corporation to A, implement improved disclosure of the investment performance and management disclosure measures and provide specific information on how each OMERS decision is effectively fulfilling core functions, achieving performance measures, and verifiable annual plans to improve continuously. B, annually publish the OMERS investment performance and actuarial report and share it with all OMERS employees, members, and retirees. C, provide annual financial reporting on how OMERS performance on 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, and 20-year basis. D, compare the performance and disclosure measures against all Ontario and Canadian public pension fund managing peers, including unedited results from any participation in the CEM Pension Administration benchmarking study that measures peer pension funds' efficiency in delivering benefits. E, provide all requested data, documentation, and information required of the review panel. And F, report back to the General Government and Licensing Committee in December 2021 and continue to report to the General Government and Licensing Committee twice a year. Be it finally resolved that the council does hereby direct staff to forward a copy of this resolution to CUPE and to OMERS. So I open up the motion for comment. Gail, did you want to speak to the resolution before council comments?
Yes, thank you. Just yesterday, I think, or it might have been Monday afternoon, I'm not sure, I got 2 more pieces of correspondence, which are also on the agenda, but one's from a joint thing from AMO and MEPCO, which is Municipal Employer Pension Center of Ontario. And also they're actually supporting OMERS, in support of OMERS and against CUPE's proposal for the study. They basically said that, well, first they said that the results to date this year are an improvement over 2020, and that they are trusting that the people appointed to the OMERS board are capable of running the institution. And then there was a letter of support for that, for AMO's and MEPCO's position given by MFOA, which is the Municipal Finance Officers Association. So that kind of adds an alternate opinion or facts, whatever you want to call it, to the scenario since this first one on the agenda. So just to show you that, to let you know there's 2 sides to that story that have now come out.
Okay, thank you for that, Gail. I open it for question or comment from council. My concern was before I had even seen the dissenting comments that the other organizations had talked about. My concern was that as a council, we have agreements with CUPE, and I felt like this might be a situation where it could get muddied waters, where we're supporting, and not that we don't support and want to work with our the union of our employees. I just was concerned about muddying those waters. I wasn't sure. I had asked Gail, had we ever in all of council that I can remember, I had never seen something like this come up, and it hasn't. So this is very new. Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, I would defer that specific item until such time there's more information forthcoming, and then we can make a decision as a council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Stefanik. The other comment is, do we want to spend staff time on researching this or looking into it further? Go ahead, Councillor Paroff.
I was not referring to any staff time or research. If the information comes forth from those individuals or groups, then we'll act on it. If it doesn't, we don't act on it. We do not search ourselves. If they provide the information, it's fine. If they don't, well, then we made a decision.
Thank you, Councillor Stefanik. Councillor Paroff, go ahead.
I agree. I think we should just sit back and let it play out and not get too involved in this right now.
Okay, I just want to clarify that by deferring, it does stay on the staff's docket of watching for it, because at some point it would have to come back. I'm not sure, Gail, if you could give us, I'll come to you, Councillor Kistemaker, in just a second. How long can we have a resolution sitting deferred?
I don't really know if there's a time limit, but it might be, if you would rather we don't deal with it, like with staff time, you might just want to defeat it instead. And if something drastic comes up that, looks like it really needs to come to council, we can bring it back.
Okay, so it can come back to council even if we don't defer. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Go ahead, Councillor Kistemaker. Belinda?
I think we should let it go. I just, I just feel we should let it go. It doesn't feel right. It's your pension people should be the ones that are dealing with this and presenting and looking into this, not giving their members feedback. I don't think it should go through the union. I really don't.
Okay, so when you say that you're thinking that we should defeat it and move on?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have a consensus on the vote then. Are we looking at a defeat? Okay, I'll put it to a vote. Those in favor of the motion? Those in favor of defeating the motion? And it is defeated. Okay, we're moving on to item 10.3, and we're talking about the curling club. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Peter and Belinda. Moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the council, the corporation, the township of Hornepayne does hereby first choice is direct staff to work with the C&D Paul Curling Club and the Hornepayne Fitness Facility members as determined by council. The second option is direct staff to respond to the letter received from the C&D Paul Curling Club advising that their proposal for shared space has been denied at this time. So I open up the floor for discussion. And Dwayne, did you want to speak to your report before I open up for further comment?
No, I can take questions.
Okay, I open up the floor for discussion. Go ahead, Councillor Paroff.
I can't get access to the shared space proposal by the Public Works Department. My link doesn't work, so I don't have a clue.
Oh,
I can email it to you.
Sure. Does it work on the, well, okay. Yeah, if you can email it to me, that'd be great, please.
okay. Any further comments or questions from council? Go ahead, Councillor Kistemaker Peter.
If possible, we've talked about this in the past, Madam Mayor, looked at moving the gym, because it is 3 to 5 years down the road before we actually get the new gym built. Is it possible to look at putting it upstairs where it originally was? Obviously, before that, we have to do the structural work. It's $60,000 to $80,000. Use the funds coming from the fees that we receive from the gym users. Use that and it would satisfy both groups. And then somehow down the road, look at it as an investment that you and your then the structural work that done. Again, I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there because I really feel bad for the curlers. They've got a beautiful club room and they can't utilize it, and it's causing grief for both. And our gym users, they deserve something good because they're paying for it.
Okay, you're gonna have to speak a little bit closer to your mic. Just a bit, yeah, we just missed the last tail end of that.
I just said that the curlers deserve their club back. The gym users also deserve something that works well for them as well because they are paying, as far as I'm concerned, exorbitant amounts to use the gym. And they shouldn't have to be fighting with the curlers. It's just it's a situation I know that we were forced into it with what happened with the hallmark and other things, but it's just I don't know, maybe we could think outside the box, even if it's a small investment on our part.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So you're
It's just, I'm just throwing it out there, just a thought.
okay. Proposing that it goes back. I think we did look at that a bit. There was some structural issues that we'd have to just reinforce. Dwayne, do you have any comments on that?
No, the only comments I have is we put a lot of money into that automatic system going in there and we get security control that way. And if they're going through the gym to go upstairs, if that's what they're proposing, they're going to be tracking dirt right through the gym. The gym will be tracking dirt back and forth.
Okay, sorry, I'm not getting where they're going to be tracking the dirt.
Is Peter talking about the weight room going upstairs or the curling club?
The weight room.
That'd have to be, I don't know if you had the structural engineer check on that or not, but on a wooden floor, right?
No, we already did check that. We got that assessment done that we needed to reinforce and brace. We did do that. We've already done that. Go ahead, Councillor Kistemaker Belinda.
I actually thought that we were still gonna be doing that. I had no idea that that was stopped, like, because we did talk about putting it back where it was, and we did talk about fixing the floor up there, and I thought we were still gonna do that, even though we were waiting for it to see if we did get the grant money. I just think we should stick to that plan until we can get going with the project.
Okay. Is there a way that we can utilize the system that we put in with the doors on that to change it to another entrance? And can we renovate that space knowing that it's not always going to be the weight room, that it will be a different space later?
Okay, you guys are talking about the arena upstairs, right? Not the curling club upstairs?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yes, yes, the door is easily transferable. It's got to bring DC Communications in to reprogram it for over there. And then the structural engineering will have to come up with a cost, what it'll cost to do what needs to be done.
Okay, I think we may have, Gail, do we have the cost of that already?
I think we do. I think Tulloch come in and we have a sheet. I can't remember exactly what it is for that, but we do have some numbers, yes.
Okay, great. Councillor Kistemaker Peter, go ahead.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Gail, it was in around $80,000 there, wasn't it?
I think it might have been, yeah, that sounds familiar.
Mhm.
Yeah, it
I'll see
sounds.
if I can pull it up.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Stefanic, go ahead.
Yeah, through Mayor, I think it's long overdue that we get out of their facility. I was the first one to speak on that 7 years ago. 7 years later, we're still on base one. We have a facility upstairs arena. My clear understanding was we had a wonderful report done. I read it numerous times and it's doable to get that repaired, move those people upstairs. Let's allow them to have proper fundraising without us being interrupted continuously over 7 years. And when the facility is built 4 or 5 years from now, totally revamped at the arena, that could be easily repurposed. So let's please move on this, and let's not hold it more than 7 years we have already. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stefanic. So I think we've got consensus across the board. I haven't heard from Councillor Paroff. Would you like to voice in on this?
I kind of always thought the gym was going to go above the arena area. We're just waiting for the repairs. If we can move the door, I would support moving the, you know, the entranceway.
Okay. So my next question is, when we're doing the full repairs, when we go to engineer that, are we going to be looking at allowing access to certain portions of our facility so that we can still use it? I guess we won't know that until we have the whole engineered plans about upgrading the arena. Go ahead, Gail.
Yeah, I don't think we quite know that yet, but the schedule that we submitted with the application was to do the addition in 2023 and the upgrades to the existing facility in 2024. So we would have to get permission to do that ahead of time, I guess, which probably wouldn't be an issue, I wouldn't think, but I don't know how quickly it could be done. That's the only thing.
Right. Do you think that it would be able to be possible that we could have it usable for next winter?
For next season?
Yeah, for
Like,
next.
Well, I would say so, as long as they let us, change the schedule around and we can get somebody to do the work. I don't see why. I mean, it shouldn't take that long. It's just to get it rolling and get the RFP out and that sort of thing. What we're planning to do is put an RFP out for the whole, for someone like we did for the airport, to manage the project management, do the engineering, and then they would RFP out to get construction for both sides. So we'd have to change that up, but certainly if that's what council wishes, then we can put a separate RFP out for the upgrades to the upstairs at least. I know that also is supposed to be, it would be temporary, definitely, because it's, I'm just trying to think back to those plans, and I believe we're changing one change room into a place, moving the stairs so that they can have an accessible lift put on there. So whatever we did to accommodate the curling club is, I think it would end up being an extra expense when you consider the whole project. And I don't know if that would, I don't know how much that would impact. It's hard to say, right? How much is going to impact what the plan for the whole renovation is. But I mean, we can take it back and have a better look at it in that light and see what we can do.
Okay, and there's nothing stopping us from, we don't need approvals or anything from for the project that we are approved for, if we just go ahead and renovate that space in the interim?
Well, no, we would, because we've got that slated for 2024. The renovation part, the addition part was 2023. So we would definitely have to do a change order of some sort. And if we're only doing a portion of it and it's for temporary purposes, I would think that we wouldn't do the whole. I just don't know how intermingled the renovation, the rehab part is. Because there's moving the Zamboni to the other end of the facility eventually and building on that workshop. which obviously you're not going to do. If we want to do something sort of quickly, we're not going to do all that and then leave the addition to the next year unless we totally flip things around. So
Yeah, no, that's exactly. I was wondering, can we just do the renovations within that room, use the existing staircase we have, and put the door, the key fob on that door, and then we carry on with the rest of the whole project as we were going to continue?
yeah, I think we would certainly be wanting to let them know, if nothing else, that we're doing something so that we
Okay.
don't jeopardize anything. So yeah, without looking at the whole thing altogether, I'm not sure what's tied to what and how easily it can be separated. That's all. So maybe we'll just have another look at it and see what we can come up with.
Okay, I think as council's all on consensus, I think we're willing to get that moved. And if after this time, this COVID time, our people are going to want to congregate and have places, and we don't want to hinder that into next winter, especially. Like, we're going to hinder it somewhat now, but we still are under restrictions.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we can take a look at the work plan that's laid out and try and do as little as possible to get what we need done, and see how that works.
Is council in agreement with that? And I will check off the first. No, sorry. Yeah, it would be the first box on the resolution. Direct staff to work with the C&D Paul Curling Club and the Hornepayne Fitness Facility members as determined by council.
Yeah, I think that's the most suitable one. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any further comments from council? And I'm going to assume, Gail, this will probably be coming back to us sometime in January or early February with the results of the findings?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay, council, I'm going to read the motion again. Moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby direct staff to work with the C&D Paul Curling Club and the Hornepayne Fitness Facility members as determined by council. And those in favor? And that is carried. Hey, thank you for that, Dwayne. Okay, we're moving on to 10.4. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Peter and Belinda. Moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Whereas the Township of Hornepayne has received notification that it is eligible to receive funding in the amount of $69,586 per annum for 5 years from the newly established Northern Ontario Resource Development Supports NORDS Fund, and whereas the fund will be stackable with other infrastructure funding programs and each year's allocation can be used either in that calendar year or alternatively can be deferred to the next year or years as long as all funds are spent by the end of the 5th year. And whereas council recognizes that the NORDS fund must be strategically apportioned in order to maximize value and utilize resources to the full potential and in the best interest of the community. And whereas there is limited information available and various unanswered questions due to the lack of finalized details regarding the program, making it difficult to definitively relate potential projects to any of council's strategic goals, and whereas the senior management team met to discuss potential projects and has reached consensus that it may be in the township's best interest to defer allocating the funds towards any specific project for 2021 and to take time to review further viable options. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation, the Township of Hornepayne, does hereby defer spending of the 2021 allocated dollars from the NORDS Fund until such time that an appropriate project is identified that will utilize the fund in the most efficient manner that will maximize value over the long term. on the motion? I do have a few comments on it. We were in, this was brought up at our mayor's meeting, and we were talking, I think it's great that this is able to be stacked and that we can use it with other funds. And I'm in total support of deferring it. And it would give a council next year an opportunity to have 2 years worth of funding to decide what they want to do for their strategic goals. I'm not sure if the project we had just identified would not fall, I don't think, underneath this funding, Gail?
I don't think so. It's the guidelines just came out, and I still find them kind of confusing because it does talk about, sorry, I just lost my page. It does talk about projects that will address or mitigate impacts related to resource development. And in here, it says resource development impacts are generally associated with impacts resulting from primary natural resource extraction and processing activities. Example, forestry, mining, and aggregates, but may also include related activities that are associated with or support those natural resource activities, such as value-added processing, supply and services, repair, and manufacturing. And then what we heard at our meeting the other day was anything that's going to help basically build the community or attract economic development, attract population. And this goes on to say eligible expenses may include capital cost expenses required to complete a project. And one of the examples, or a couple of the examples, are repairs or upgrading of existing infrastructure that is impacted by resource industry use, construction of new infrastructure that will reduce or mitigate the impact of resource industry use, construction or upgrading of new or existing infrastructure to enable, mitigate, or attract future use, which is what Linda was referring to at our meeting, and other capital projects that may be able to demonstrate impacts of resource development. So I think that doesn't sound like it would fit the project we were talking about, but she did say this was a representative from Ministry of Northern Development that was at our meeting. And she did say, you know, you can try and build a case pretty much for anything as long as it's you can tie it to this. So I think it's really going to have some creative thought put to it, and really think about where are you going to get the best bang for your buck, basically. So I think we need to look at it a little bit more and understand it a little bit better. As I said in my report, I didn't find that the answers we were getting really painted a clear picture, or at least they didn't for me.
Okay. Thank you for expanding on that as well, Gail. And when you were listing out the ways that we could utilize NORDS, I kept going to maybe our industrial park in that area. So is there any other further comments or questions, or is council, so we're going to defer spending the money for 2021. It'll, every year, Gail will have to apply to ensure that we have the deferral, and they sit there. Go ahead, Councillor Kistemaker.
So when they're talking about industrial use, and we're talking about industrial park, also maybe industrial road, would that be to put some aggregate on Becker Road or something like that? Would that fall into that criteria, or do something with that in that area?
I'm not entirely sure, but I think it would be, I think it would have potential based on what I just read. I mean, we'd have to talk before we go any farther as far as applying. We usually meet with that ministry and see if the project fits, and what we could add or what we need to take away from it. So I think as we get more information and we talk about it some more, I think it'll become clearer. But from what I just read, I would say that sounds like it would fit.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to put the resolution to a vote. Those in favor? on to 10.5, Hornepayne Housing Corporation. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Belinda and Drago. Moved by Belinda Kistemaker, second by Drago Stefanik. Whereas the Township of Hornepayne has received correspondence from the Hornepayne Housing Corporation, HHC, requesting support for their resolution number 2021-52 regarding an application to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM, Municipal Asset Management Program, MAMP, for a building conditions assessment study. And whereas the building condition assessment study will support the development of an asset management plan, as well as serve as the basis for architectural and design plans for the Parkview Apartments. And whereas this study may assist in assessing Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, CMHC, preservation funding for future projects. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation, the Township of Hornepayne, does hereby agree to provide a letter of support to the Hornepayne Housing Corporation to complement their application for funding. Any discussion on the motion? I put it to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to 10.6, City of Kitchener request for support. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Peter and Belinda. Moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Whereas the township has received correspondence from the City of Kitchener requesting support at the federal, provincial, and municipal levels to formally denounce conversion therapy and to take action to prohibit conversion practices against all persons. And whereas conversion practices or conversion therapy, also known as reparative therapy, reintegrative therapy, or aversion therapy, are unscientific, dangerous, and proven to cause physical and psychological harm to the persons who are subject to. I apologize, Council. I'm tongue-tied tonight. Subjected to them. And whereas such practices are opposed by more than 50 professional associations, including the Canadian Association of Social Workers, the Canadian Psychiatric Association, the Canadian Professional Association for Transgender Health, the Canadian Psychological Association, the College of Registered Psychotherapists of Ontario, as well as the United Nations and World Health Organization. And whereas conversion therapy causes harm to society because, among other things, it is based on and promotes myths and stereotypes about sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression, including the myth that heterosexuality, cisgender, gender identity, and gender expression that conforms to the sex assigned to a person at birth are to be preferred over other sexual orientations, gender identities, and gender expressions. And whereas in the light of those harms, it is important to discourage and denounce the provisions of conversion therapy in order to protect the human dignity, quality of all, including Hornepayne residents. And whereas several cities across Canada have adopted bylaws to prohibit conversion practices or are in the process of doing so, including the City of Kingston, Ontario, and the City of Thunder Bay, Ontario. And whereas Bill C-4 2021, an act to amend the criminal code conversion therapy, proposes 4 conversion therapy related offenses causing other person to undergo conversion therapy, doing anything for the purpose of removing a child from Canada with the intention that the child undergo conversion therapy outside of Canada, promoting or advertising conversion therapy, receiving a financial or other material benefit from the provision of conversion therapy. And whereas while Bill C-4 2021 was passed through the House of Commons on December 1st, 2021, it must still be passed through the Senate. And whereas the Council, the Corporation, the Township of Hornepayne has adopted a strategic plan which supports the core values of integrity, accountability, and transparency, respect, and inclusivity, and is committed to supporting our diverse populations, including the removal of social stigmas, and where possible, being more equitable and inclusive. And whereas the Township of Hornepayne continues to seek opportunities to demonstrate leadership in making all of those within our community feel equal and included. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation, the Township of Hornepayne, formally denounces conversion practices as dangerous and harmful, perpetuating myths and stereotypes about sexual orientation and gender identity and expression. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, the Honourable Carolyn Bennett, Minister of Mental Health and Addictions, the Honourable Ahmed Hussein, Minister of Housing and Diversity and Inclusion, the Honourable David Lamenti, Minister of Justice, the Honourable Jean-Yves Duclos, Minister of Health, the Honourable Marcia Len, Minister of Women and Gender and Equity and Youth, the Honourable Karina Gold, Minister of Families, Children and Social Development, and Carol Hughes, MP Algoma Manitoulin Kapuskasing, urging the passage of Bill C4 2021 through the Senate. Be it finally resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, Michael Mantha, MPP Algoma Manitoulin, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, and all other municipalities in Ontario, encouraging the Senate to formally denounce conversion therapy. Do we have any discussion on the support resolution or motion, please? Okay, there being none, I put it to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. And moving on to 10.7. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. John and Belinda. Moved by John Paroff, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Whereas the township has received correspondence from the city of Kitchener outlining their concern that it has been 29 years since section 9.5 of the Ontario Fire Code, which provides for a minimum level of life safety to buildings classed as low-rise residential, has been reviewed. And whereas providing the safety of tenants is of the utmost importance, therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby support the attached resolution from the City of Kitchener, urging the Government of Ontario to direct the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office, Technical Services, to undertake an immediate review of the portion of the Ontario Fire Code known as Retrofit Section 9.5. And be it further resolved that the council directs staff to forward this resolution to the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honourable Steve Clerk, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, the Rural Ontario Municipal Association, ROMA, Ontario Small Urban Municipalities, and the Northwestern Ontario Municipal Association, NOMA, and the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, FNOM, for their support, with a copy to the City of Kitchener. Any discussion on the support motion? I put it to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to 10.8. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. We have Peter and Drago. Moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by Drago Stepanek. Whereas the township has received correspondence from the City of St. Catharines requesting support for their resolution, urging the provincial government to take the necessary steps to work with the federal government on a bilateral agreement to ensure that new national child care program be made available to Ontarians. And whereas council is in favor of this request through a bilateral agreement, which will provide focus on increased access, affordability, quality, and responsiveness, all of which are essential to the COVID-19 pandemic response. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby direct staff to forward this resolution to the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honourable Steve Clerk, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Ontario Municipal Social Services Association, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Rural Ontario Municipal Association, Ontario Small Urban Municipalities, the Northwestern Ontario Municipal Association, and the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, with a copy to the City of St. Catharines. Any discussion on the support resolution? Okay, I put it to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. seconder, please? John and Belinda? Moved by John Paroff, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Whereas the township has received correspondence from Mr. Gerd Wrangler regarding an invoice he received from the township for landing fees in the amount of $45.20. And whereas Mr. Wrangler has detailed the reason for landing his privately owned aircraft at the Hornepayne Municipal Airport was of a charitable and humanitarian nature, and requested that landing fees be waived for charitable flights for the Owl Foundation and Hope Air. And whereas council is in support of this request, therefore be it resolved that the council, the corporation, the township of Hornepayne does hereby agree to waive landing fees in the sum of $45.20 as issued to Mr. Wangler. Okay, any discussion on the motion? I was quite concerned actually about the motion because it doesn't follow our policy. And I have no problem if it was to come beforehand to our council, but, and it's not the amount that I'm concerned about. It was just about the policy. And I did ask Gail about the policy, and it doesn't really fall under our policy, correct, Gail? Where we waive landing fees for charities?
No, we don't have anything in place like that.
Okay, do you have any comments or concerns about this, Gail?
Well, I think it's entirely up to council to decide what you want to do about it. Staff is, I think, did what they were supposed to do in, carrying out the policy. And the next step in which he was advised was to go to council if he wasn't satisfied with the answer that he received. So the only thing I would say was if you're to waive these fees because it's a charitable purpose, then perhaps we need to look at our whole landing fee bylaw and bring that back up for discussion of whether you want to waive all charitable fees for all charitable organizations.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, through Mayor, I agree 100%. I mean, if you read his correspondence, I'm sure everybody read it. I think should be commended for what they do, and no other municipality has charged them any, and they probably have higher fees than us. So I would certainly forego this time, but we should certainly look at charitable donations such as worthy ones, as that individual was there. So I'm in favor of the motion to, doesn't have to pay for it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Go ahead, Councillor Kistemaker Peter.
I'd like to hear our public works manager take different perspective.
If okay, if our public works manager has a different perspective on this. Dwayne, are you there? And I run that through you, Gail, or for your public works manager to give his thoughts on it?
There he is, yeah.
Just took me a second to get everything turned on. I don't know, would that come under a bonus thing or not?
No, I wouldn't say so.
That's
The only thing doing that just popped into my head was one other thing to consider is that he's still using the runway and still, I know it's not a lot of wear and tear, but just to bring all those things up so we're all thinking about the same things. That's all.
Yeah,
okay.
For sure.
Okay, so that's my next question then. By waiving these landing fees, are we basically agreeing that we're going to waive them all then?
Not the way he's only asking for those two charities or those two organizations. But I was just saying, if you're going to do it for one charity, then maybe we need to consider doing it for all of them. Just a thought.
Okay, I'm in agreement with that, to look at it. Okay, so I put any further comments on the motion that's on the floor? To waive the fees? Okay, seeing none, I put it to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to 11. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. John and Peter. Moved by John Paroff, second by Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby acknowledge receipt of the correspondence information only package attached to the agenda of the regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, December 8th, 2021. Is there any items in the correspondence only package that council would like to speak to? I had one question, Gail, about 11.2, the phenom release of resource extraction municipal funding. That's not NORDS, right?
It
Or
is the
it
same. It is. It is.
They
Yes.
don't define it as NORDS in here.
No, they don't. I know, but it is. That's what it is.
Okay, okay. So I was getting excited. We were getting more money. Okay. Okay, that was all of my comments from the information only. Any other comments from council or discussion? Okay, there being none, I put the motion on the floor to a vote. Those in favor to accept the information only package. And that is carried. Okay, moving on, item 12, donations, there's none. So we're on 13. 13.1 is the Good Roads Conference. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Drago and Peter. Moved by Drago Stefanik, second by Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby approve the expenditures to be incurred by the following to attend the following annual general meetings and or annual conferences. Ontario Good Roads Association, OGRA, Sunday, February 27th to Wednesday, March 2nd, 2022 at the Fairmount Royal York Hotel in Toronto, Ontario, Jennifer Hill. And the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM, Thursday, June 2nd to Sunday, June 5th, 2022, Regina, Saskatchewan. Format to be determined, and that's Belinda Kistemaker. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I put that to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to committee reports. We have library report, our library minutes. If I can have a mover and a seconder, please. Belinda and John. Moved by Belinda Kistemaker, second by John Paroff. Be it resolved that the Council of Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby acknowledge receipt of the minutes from the Hornepayne Public Library Board regular meetings held on the following dates: Thursday, November 28th, 2021, and Monday, November 8th, 2021. Any comments on the motion? Okay, there being none, I put that to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, new and other business. I will hand it over to you, Gail, for the COVID update.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to start with the current statistics in and around our region. We have been very fortunate so far not to have been too affected by this latest wave, although Dr. Catton reminds everybody that the status can change very quickly. And of course, with the new variant, the Omicron, that I don't think they know exactly how serious the symptoms are that it causes, but it certainly spreads very quickly. So anyways, saying that, today, as of today, these numbers are as of about 5:30 this afternoon. So the the Porcupine Health Unit has 4 active cases. The Thunder Bay District Health Unit has 134 active cases. Algoma Public Health has 262. And most of those are in Sault Ste. Marie, I believe. And Sudbury District has 363. So both Sudbury District and Sault Ste. Marie, Sault Ste. Marie, the city of Sault Ste. Marie, not the whole Algoma region, have gone back into step 2. They did that, I think, about a week ago. So they have restricted gatherings, sports have been canceled, lots of outbreaks in the schools, in the elementary schools. So we did put out a notice last week just cautioning people who must travel to these regions to please just be vigilant. Make sure you keep up your masking, make sure you do your distancing, and to continue washing your hands. And yes, remember that we were the last district last time to be hit, so there's nothing saying that we won't all of a sudden explode with cases as well. So we don't want to end up back in step 2, particularly before Christmas. So just to remind people to be careful. Also encourage people to continue getting vaccinated and to get boosters when they're eligible. Currently, they're doing the 50+ for boosters, as well as the immunosuppressed and some other identified groups. Upcoming clinics are Sunday, December 19th from 11 to 2, Wednesday, December 22nd from 2 to 5, and Wednesday, December 29th from 10 to 2. In addition, as we all know, vaccinations are also available for 5 to 11 aged people now. And as I said, I know, I think there's, can't remember if there were 2 school outbreaks in our region. I'm not sure if they've been cleared up yet or not, but in the Sault Ste. Marie area, there are several. CCG meetings are still continuing bi-weekly. There's nothing much new to report there, which is a good thing. And our next meeting is December the 16th. And just with regard to our arena, it's been open and operating, and I myself haven't heard of any issues with regard to people having to show proof of vaccination or any other issues as well. I think things are going fairly smoothly, so fingers crossed that that stays the way it is. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Any questions about the COVID update or the community control group? Okay, I just want to add that I did do a live and I will do another one. And that residents can call the Porcupine Health Unit if you do need a booster or a vaccine. Sometimes they're trying to utilize all of the vaccine that's open, and they'll do calls at the end of the vaccine clinic. I know last night I went for my booster, and while I was there, 2 people got called. So that's an option for residents as well, to get your name there if you haven't made an appointment yet. Okay, so we're going to move to 15.2. Jen, would you like to speak to your report before I open it up for questions or comment?
It'll just take her a minute to get here because she can't speak on her own computer.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Not too much to say. I did find out when doing the research for this staff report that we thankfully don't apply too much yet for building accessibility because it is only for new builds or buildings undergoing extensive renovation. So thankfully there's not a crazy rush for the current building that we're in because there's no planned renovations. Actually, I know that there was worry that we would have to rush and find funding to make it fully accessible by 2025. So.
Hey, that's great news. So a new build, and I see from your report, like our arena has to be fully accessible because it's going to be an extensive renovation.
I don't think that the full arena has to be accessible. I think it's just whatever renovations are made have to be AODA accessible from now on.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So any area that's being renovated will have to become.
Okay. I had a couple questions, Jen. The financial considerations are for which year? Because the new plan is needed for 2023. So if we need the new plan for 2023, I'm thinking that plan needs to be created in 2022 then?
Yes, that is my plan, is to get started on that in the new year. And I will come up with a new staff report when I have more information, but as of right now, there are no financial considerations because I'm not sure what they will be for this new one. So once I have more information and I've built it a little bit more, I will update council with financial considerations.
Okay, great. Because it's just about timing from council's perspective on budget of what we're budgeting for and understanding that. So that is
100%.
Extra work we have that's coming. Okay. Any further comments or questions for Jen in the report? No. Okay. I do have one other question. I'll direct it at Gail. I'm wondering, Gail, on a substantive report like this, I think we've had discussions before. Should we be passing a resolution to accept for information so that it's documented that there's a report on it?
It wouldn't hurt.
It wouldn't hurt?
Yeah, we can start doing that. Honestly, it just doesn't occur to me. But yeah, we can start doing that.
Right.
So do you have a blank report? We can do that if you like.
Yeah, I do.
Not a report. Sorry, not a blank report. Resolution.
I printed like 9. We're good.
Oh, hopefully we don't need 9, Jen.
Jen had me set up quite well here with everything. She had the 10 p.m. resolution right on the top. I'm like, uh-oh.
I like to have them in order. I have like a couple different types of blank resolutions too. How much information you want in there?
Okay, I have it written out as, be it resolved that council does hereby accept the staff report on accessibility compliance update, report number D2021-02, received for information. And if I can get a mover and a seconder on that, please, Drago and Peter. And if there's no further discussion on the report, I'll put the motion to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, Jen. Okay, we're moving on now to 15.3, surplus properties. Peter Kistemaker, second by John Paroff. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby declare the following properties as surplus properties and does hereby authorize the treasurer to place them up for public tender immediately. I'm going to read out the addresses and not all of the roll numbers. You can follow along in your motions that you have. Item number 1 is 10 Spruce Street, 2 is 14 Spruce Street, 3 is 16 Spruce Street, 4 is 17 Spruce Street, 5 is 18 Spruce Street, 6 is 19 Spruce Street, and 7 is 20 Spruce Street, 8, 21 Spruce Street. Any comments or discussion on the motion? And I put that to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to 15.4, 2022 proposed council meeting, budget meeting, and water and sewer rate meetings. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Peter and Belinda. Okay, moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby agree to set 2 regular council meetings per month and specified budget meetings and water and sewer rate meetings in a virtual setting for the following dates and timelines for the first half of 2022. 1, Wednesday, January 12th, 2022 at 6 p.m. 2, Wednesday, January 26th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Presentation to Council 2022 water and sewer rates. 3, Wednesday, February 9th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Council deliberations and public open discussion on the water and sewer rates. 4, Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022 at 6 p.m. Intent to adopt the 2022 water and sewer rates, 2022 municipal budget presentation to council. 5, Wednesday, March 9th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Council deliberations and public open discussion on the 2022 municipal budget. 6, Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022 at 6 p.m. Intent to adopt the 2022 municipal budget. 7, Wednesday, April 30th or 13th, 2022 at 6 p.m. 8, Wednesday, April 27th, 2022 at 6 p.m. 9, Wednesday, May 18th, 2022 at 6 p.m. 10, Wednesday, May 25th, 2022 at 6 p.m. 11, Wednesday, May 8th, 22 at 6 p.m. Wednesday, 12, Wednesday, June 22nd, 2022 at 6 p.m. Be it further resolved that council meetings are being set with the intention that the first scheduled meeting of the month will be for the purposes of discussing and dealing with regular council business, public deputations included, and that the second scheduled meeting of the month will generally be for proposed purpose of deputations, presentations, training, and if necessary, urgent business that cannot wait until the next regular scheduled business meeting. Be it further resolved that the second meeting of the month will be canceled with due notice if there are no agenda items as identified above. Any discussion on the motion? Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, I accept the dates with the rationale that was provided. Therefore, I do accept that as presented. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Stefanik. Any other discussions on the motion? Okay, I just had one question. Was the February 23rd date for the intent to adopt? I am probably likely going to be away that day, and I am wondering if that's a meeting that has any sort of public consultation to it.
Melissa, would you mind taking that question?
So there, excuse me, so the presentation to council for the budget, and then it would be open for the written questions from that period until for a 7-week period following that council meeting.
Okay, and then, but during the council meeting, Melissa, I would be able to watch the meeting at a later date and be prepared in the sense that I wouldn't have to be chairing a meeting for the public in the sense of public communication at the meeting?
No, the public discussions would be the March 9th meeting.
Okay, great. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. sure of that. Then I'm fine. Our deputy mayor next year is Drago Stepanek, and he can handle that meeting. I had one other note here. Let me see what it says. Oh, no, it's answered. Okay, I put that to a vote then. Those in favor? And that is carried. Oh, I did have one other comment. I apologize. On your, Melissa, this draft that's there, I didn't open it. So this whole draft will go out as a notice all at once with all the meeting dates on it?
Yeah, that was the draft. That was the attachment. It was the actual notice.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Thank you for that. Go ahead, Councillor Stepanek.
Yeah, through the mayor. May I have a hard copy in my files? Thank you.
Yeah,
Will
please.
do, yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, now moving on to where are we? Here we go. 16 resolutions. We've been taking care of them as we go. 17 is bylaws. So the first one, if I can get a mover and a seconder, please. John and Belinda. Moved by John Karoff, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 1891, being a bylaw to enter into a materials services agreement with Product Care Association of Canada, Municipal Industry Stewardship Plan, ISP, be hereby read a first and second time and considered read a third time and finally passed. Is there any discussion on the bylaw? Okay, I'm not seeing any, so I'll put that to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, borrowing bylaw, that's item 17.2. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Grego. And Belinda. Moved by Drago Stepanek, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 1892, being a bylaw to authorize the borrowing of money to meet current expenditures of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne, be hereby read a first and second time and be considered read a third time and finally passed. Any discussion on the bylaw? Okay, not seeing any. I put it to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, 17.3, if I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Peter and Belinda. Moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 1893, being a bylaw to repeal the human resources policies listed below, be hereby read a first and second time and be considered read a third time and finally passed. Bylaw number 1085 is the hiring policy. Bylaw number 1203, workplace violence and harassment policy. Bylaw number 1248, employee code of conduct. Bylaw 1391, attendance management policy. Bylaw number 1481, electronic device policy. Bylaw number 1501, workplace accommodation policy and plan. Bylaw 1556, social media policy. Bylaw number 1695, progressive discipline bylaw. Bylaw number 1704, cannabis smoking and vaporizing bylaw. Any discussion on the motion? Gail, did you want to speak to your report at all?
I don't really need need to speak to the report. I am just glad that this is done. It's been a year in the making in between other things, and I think it's really well done. And I'm not saying that because I helped to do it. I'm saying it because I just think it's well done. The consultant, the way she had things laid out, and the way we incorporated the important and relevant things from our policies that we're repealing. I think you'll like it.
Okay, great. I know it's been a long time coming, so congratulations. If there's no further comment, I put the motion to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to 17.4. Did you want to speak to this, Gail, before we do the next four motions?
Sure. So, I guess in the Planning Act, you have to you have to provide notice of adoption of an official plan within 15 days of adopting the plan, which neither Stacy or I knew, and the consultant actually didn't forward the notice or any of the other package documents that had to go to the ministry until almost 30 days after, and didn't tell us or anything. So anyways, we posted the notice, and the ministry rep called and said, geez, you know, you breached the Planning Act. And we said, oh, well, geez, you know, we weren't aware, and that is our responsibility, and what do we have to do to fix it? So anyways, he said he was going to review the package and get back to us. And what he got back to us with was he wanted us to repeal and readopt, and then put the notice out within the 15 days. So it's just a paper thing to fit under the guidelines of the legislation. In other words, no changes to the documents or anything like that. So I now have the notice that's ready to go out. So it'll go out promptly.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification, Gail. So the first one that we're rescinding is the official plan. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Peter and John. Moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by John Paroff. Be it resolved that bylaw number 1894, being a bylaw to rescind bylaw number 1874, the Township of Hornepayne official plan, be hereby read a first and second time and be considered read a third time and finally passed. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, and the next one is to adopt the official plan. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Drago and Belinda. Moved by Drago Stefanik, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 1895, being a bylaw to adopt the Township of Hornepayne official plan, be hereby read a first and a second time and be considered read a third time and finally passed. Those in favor? And that is carried. Are we all getting a sense of deja vu? Okay, so now we're looking at rescinding the zoning bylaw. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Peter and John. Moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by John Paroff. Be it resolved that bylaw number 1896, being a bylaw to rescind bylaw number 1875, a bylaw to regulate the use of all land and the density, size, location, and use of all buildings and structures within the Township of Hornepayne municipal boundary zoning bylaw, be hereby read a first and second time and be considered read a third time and finally passed. Those in favor? And that is carried. And now to adopt our zoning bylaw. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. John and Belinda. Kistemaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 1897 being a bylaw to regulate the use of all land and the density, size, location, and use of all buildings and structures within the township of Hornepayne municipal boundary zoning bylaw be hereby read a first and second time and be considered read a third time and finally passed. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay. And we have one last 17.8 is the sale of 180 Front Street. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. John or Peter and Drago. Moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by John Paroff. Be it resolved that bylaw number 1898 being a bylaw to authorize the sale of the property currently known as 180 Front Street by the corporation of the township of Hornepayne for the use of a construction staging area be hereby read a first and second time and be considered read a third time and finally passed. Any discussion on the bylaw? There being none, I put it to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on. Oh, my iPad's frozen. Okay. It's good that Jen outfits me so well because I have a paper copy. Okay, we're continuing on. We're done with motions, or there's no motions or notice of motions, announcements, none. So we're at 20 confirmatory bylaw. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Peter and Belinda. Moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 1899 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at their regular meeting held on Wednesday, December 8th, 2021 be hereby read a first and second time, be considered read a third time and finally passed. Those in favor? And that is carried. And we have our adjournment. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. John and Drago. Moved by John Paroff, second by Drago Stefanik. Be it resolved that council does hereby adjourn this regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, December 8th, 2021 at 7:52 p.m. Those in favor? And that is carried. Well, thank you, council, and I have to applaud staff that we got through a lot of material tonight in under 2 hours. So that is amazing. I have to say thank you and kudos to all the staff.
Yeah, thank you all the staff and good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right. Good night, everyone.